Rain Caldwell was 42 when she first noticed the heavy pressure between her eyes, a sensation like a balloon being inflated inside her face. Living in the quiet suburb of Greenwich, Rain balanced life as a middle school teacher, a wife to her loyal but overworked husband Nathan, and a mother to their 2 teenagers. The headaches came first, then nosebleeds that seemed random and harmless. When she finally made it to Eastlake Medical Center, her ENT physician, Dr. Clifford Brenner, decided a sinus biopsy was warranted. They joked nervously about the word biopsy, neither of them taking it too seriously. After all, Rain was healthy, vibrant, rarely sick. What could possibly be wrong? The biopsy was performed on a Wednesday morning. Rain remembered because it was parent-teacher night at school, and she didn't want to miss it. The discomfort was minimal, the staff reassuring. A week later, the pathology report came back. Esthesioneuroblastoma, a rare and aggressive nasal cancer. It was flagged, logged into Rain's chart, and marked urgent in the hospital's internal system. But Dr. Brenner never saw it. The report, though filed, went unread, buried under a mountain of routine alerts, labs, and updates. No one followed up. No alarm bells rang. Rain, trusting the absence of communication as a good sign, assumed she was in the clear. Weeks passed. The bleeding returned, this time heavier. One morning, Rain bent over to tie her shoe and blood poured from her nostril onto the tiled floor. Her vision in her right eye began to blur. Colors dimmed. At first, she blamed fatigue or maybe the new classroom LED lights. By the time she returned to Eastlake, her right eye looked sunken, and the bridge of her nose was visibly swollen. Dr. Brenner, rattled by her appearance, ordered a CT scan and finally reviewed her medical chart. When he opened the file and saw the biopsy report dated 6 weeks earlier, his face turned pale. Rain saw the horror on his face before she heard his words. The CT scan confirmed the worst. The tumor had grown rapidly and aggressively, eroding the orbital wall, the bones separating her sinus from her eye. Her cancer, once manageable and potentially curable, was now advanced. Urgent surgery was scheduled. The morning before the procedure, Rain sat silently in her hospital bed, staring at the shapes beyond her dimming vision. Nathan held her hand and whispered, "We'll get through this." But his voice cracked. The surgeons removed portions of her orbital bone and, ultimately, her right eye. When she awoke, wrapped in gauze and groggy from anesthesia, the silence in the room said it all. Nathan, a man of calm resolve, demanded answers. How did a flagged cancer report sit unnoticed for 6 weeks in a reputable medical center? Hospital administrators met with him behind closed doors. They explained it was a system error, a communication failure, a glitch. But one look at Rain, grieving her disfigurement, navigating the shock of a changed body and future, made it clear. This wasn't just a technical error. It was a human one. One that could have been prevented with a glance, a signature, a phone call. One oversight had taken her eye and compromised her survival. The treatment was brutal. Radiation 6 weeks straight. Chemotherapy twice as long. The nausea and fatigue were constant, but the psychological toll ran deeper. Rain covered mirrors. She avoided video calls with family. She could feel herself shrinking, not just physically but emotionally, disappearing into a version of herself she didn't recognize. Her daughter, Lily, once attached to her side, avoided eye contact. Her son, Jordan, asked her in whispered tones if she was dying. Nathan held their family together with trembling hands, but even he couldn't hide the slow unraveling at home. They found an attorney through a friend, a woman named Celia Roston who specialized in medical negligence. Celia, pragmatic yet compassionate, listened to Rain's story with a steady gaze. "This is not about revenge," she said. "It's about accountability." Celia's investigation revealed that the hospital had a documented history of internal miscommunication. The software system they used had generated more than a dozen urgent lab flags in 1 week, all of which had been delayed in review. What happened to Rain wasn't an isolated incident. It was the symptom of a broken system, and she had paid the price. Rain sat in the deposition room under fluorescent lights, flanked by Nathan and Celia. Across the table, lawyers for Eastlake Medical Center spoke in dry corporate language. Unfortunate event, workflow disruption, unintentional oversight. When they asked Rain what her life was like now, she didn't cry. She didn't yell. She simply removed her eye patch and let them look. Every morning, she said, I wake up and remember what they took from me. Not just my sight, my sense of safety, my ability to trust. Silence hung in the room longer than any of their rebuttals. The case settled out of court for $850,000. It was enough to cover treatments, therapy, and education costs for the children. But it was never about the money. Rain donated a portion to a nonprofit that advocated for rare cancer awareness. Her face, brave and unapologetically altered, appeared on a campaign billboard a year later, under the words, "Early detection saves lives." Some days she still grieved her loss deeply, but there were moments she felt powerful. She had turned her pain into protest, her silence into story, and people were listening. Rain's case triggered a mandatory internal audit at Eastlake. The report concluded that the hospital failed to follow basic standards of care. Among the recommendations, improve biopsy result communication, increase pathologist-to-physician reporting, and flag urgent test results with immediate physical follow-up. Celia called it progress. Rain called it too late. But she knew, deep in her soul, that her voice had changed something. Her pain had drawn a boundary in a system that had blurred too many lines. In a world of red tape and electronic charts, she had become the reminder that behind every file is a life. In healthcare, silence isn't neutral, it's dangerous. Rain's tragedy underscores the devastating consequences of overlooking a single report, of failing to follow up, of trusting flawed systems over human vigilance. A delay in diagnosis isn't just a delay, it can mean irreversible loss. The lesson is not only for doctors, but for institutions, families, and patients. Communication saves lives, and accountability must never come after the damage is done. Medicine must remember, every chart holds a person, every result has a voice, and every second matters. Subscribe to the White Coat Crimes for more shocking true stories, medical crimes, medical mysteries, and the dark side of healthcare you were never meant to see.